Hi, I'm Michael Levine with another edition of Without Notes, a journey, a television journey, a video journey with fascinating guests. And we have a truly intriguing and fascinating guest today. My partner for the expedition today is the legendary Andrea Eastman. Andrea, welcome.
Thank you. Legendary, huh?
Legendary.
Okay.
Iconic.
Iconic.
You like it. So how do you get to casting?
All right, so this is how I get to casting. So I'm working for Joyce Selznick, who is the head of casting.
Yes.
And so Ali MacGraw, I bring
Who
her,
at this point in the story is a very top model.
yes, but she started as Sokolsky's assistant, a stylist.
Okay.
And then they took a picture of her under a waterfall for Chanel, where she looked amazing. And my friend Martin Davidson, who directed Lords of Flatbush. But anyway, so he discovers her, calls her in. And so I said to Marty, I want Ali to meet with Joyce. So she comes in now, I'm sitting in the outer office, and Joyce walks out with her and says, get your tooth fixed. You know, that one little crooked tooth?
Yeah, she has a bit of...
So I walked her to the elevator and I said, don't get your tooth fixed. She didn't get her tooth fixed. So anyway, it's the first time a conglomerate had bought a studio. Gulf+Western bought Paramount Pictures.
Right. And Paramount Pictures was a studio in great decay and decline.
Yes. We had done, very nice man ran it, Howard Koch. And then Bluhdorn brought in Robert Evans.
Charles Bluhdorn was a business tycoon, European,
Austrian.
A man who was made for his time. This would not work today, but he was a bulldog, and he was the owner of Gulf+Western.
Correct.
And among his first interesting choices for Paramount, which was an acquisition that Gulf+Western made, was what? To hire
Robert Evans, who was not in, he had produced he bought the book, The Detective. Right. So he was a producer of The Detective.
Right. Well, he was a man who owned the rights.
Correct, that's right. And then Daryl Zanuck, or Dick Zanuck.
By the way, for any of the people watching this, I commend to you the viewing. To understand Robert Evans, I commend to you the viewing of The Kid Stays in the Picture. Because trying to describe Robert Evans to someone who had never met him is impossible. It's like trying to describe what artichokes taste like if you've never had one. He was the most fascinating, seductive, interesting.
I loved working for him.
And he loved you. He loved you.
And I loved him, not romantically.
Yeah, yes.
Years. But I'll tell you.
By the way, you may be the only woman
that he didn't
he
didn't have an
loved
right, as a friend.
Right. But he did love you.
Well, and I loved him. We had just great times together. It was fun. I have to say, working at Paramount Pictures, we cared about movies. It wasn't the bottom line. We really cared. But my mentor was Charlie.
Mr. Bluhdorn.
Yes, because I grew up.
So who hired you to do casting?
I was Joyce Selznick's assistant. After Gulf+Western owned Paramount, she was transferred to L.A. I'm now 25 years old. She's fired because she was very difficult. I was making $150 a week.
And happy to have it.
And yes, and suddenly overnight I am made worldwide head of casting at age 25, 2 assistants.
The power of timing.
And
you were in the right place at the right time.
And $300 a week.
But friends, the power of timing, the power of proximity. Being in the right place at the right time. Okay.
So Michael.
You're the head of casting.
I'm the head of casting. I suddenly have all this power.
Unspeakable amount of power.
Yes, a lot.
And what's your first movie that you cast?
My first movie was Goodbye Columbus.
Goodbye, Columbus.
I put Ali in Goodbye,
with
Columbus.
a young, beautiful model named
Ali MacGraw.
She was talking to me, sweetie.
What is this she business? That's how you call your mother today? She? If I call my mother she, my father give me such a clop on the side of the head, I wouldn't be able to get up for a month.
All right, eat your dinner. We'll clean it out later.
Now we tested, okay. So we wanted Natalie Wood. Natalie Wood turned it down. Richard Benjamin was kind of cast from the beginning. Larry Pierce, who was a terrific director. So we tested every girl, dark-haired girl. At one point, everybody was so desperate, they said, because at that time I looked a teeny bit like Ali. You know, both of us, the long hair, blah, blah, blah. They said, would you test? I go, no. So I actually met this girl, beautiful, but she was flat-chested. I went out and bought her bras so she would look better. And so we literally tested everybody. And so I met Ali again, and I thought she was 30 and the girl was supposed to be 24. So I call Evans and I go, I think we found the girl, Ali MacGraw. He goes, Andrea, are you kidding? She's 30 years old. She's been around. I know exactly who Ali MacGraw is. You have to do better. And he hung up on me. I thought, okay. So we tested like everybody, and then nobody was good. And then we tested just her and one other person, and she got the role. And I mean, she was terrific. She just exploded off the screen. But one of the things I wanted to say to you, at that time, I was incredibly close to Bluhdorn. I mean, my father would tell me.
What do you think was the secret sauce for your closeness with this very powerful, unique man?
Because I was fearless. I would tell him the truth.
Yeah.
Everybody
and by the
was
way,
afraid
Marty
of him.
Baum also respected that in you. You would tell people what they needed to hear, not what they wanted to hear. Did you do that with Evans too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So now you cast Rosemary's Baby. That's an extraordinary movie. And then you cast, when do you next cast Love Story?
No, there were a lot of in between.
Yeah, but I want to get to the central ones.
Probably Love Story
Love
and
Story.
The Godfather.
Hey, what makes you so sure I went to prep school?
You look stupid and rich.
Actually, I'm smart and poor.
I'm smart and poor.
What makes you so smart?
I wouldn't go for coffee with you.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't ask you.
Well, that's what makes you stupid.
Now, to say Love Story was a success would be like saying Star Wars was a success. It was an unbelievable success.
So I was very lucky. Charlie did respect me. And, of course, everybody thought, how could she possibly have this job? She has to be sleeping with Charlie Bluhdorn.
Right.
No.
Or at least Robert Evans.
None of them. None of them. So, but Charlie, I would really tell him the truth. Like someone would say, oh, Charlie, this is great, because they heard that he had loved it. I go, Charlie, no, that's a piece of shit.
Okay.
I was known in the company of having Charlie's ear. So I read the script.
Right.
Now, Evans already loved it. And I'm sobbing. And Evans says to me, you have to ask to see Charlie the second. So he was available. So I went up, and I'm crying my eyes out. I go, Charlie, we have to make this movie. We have to make this movie. I mean, I'm not responsible for having it made, but I was one of the voices that said we have to make this movie.
Now take us to this momentous pivot of you and your incredibly important role in a little film called The Godfather.
Check all the calls that go. Been out here.
I did it already, Pop.
You know, could be
Pop,
anyone.
I took care of that.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
So The Godfather was collaborative. I was head of casting, excuse me, for Paramount Pictures, and Fred Roos worked for Francis Coppola. And I had never worked with a casting director before. We would make these endless lists, and Fred and I actually had some of the same people on our list together. Both of us thought of Diane Keaton. But Francis really disliked Paramount with a vengeance. And so...
Because Paramount was a symbol of the man, the establishment.
I think,
he was an artist.
Yes, well, he took it because he needed the money. And
well, let's be a little more direct. He desperately needed the money.
And Peter Bart, it was Peter Bart's idea.
And by the way, the writer of The Godfather wrote it because he also desperately needed the money.
So it was only,
underlined desperate.
Correct. Now, we had made something called The Brotherhood. Martin Ritt directed it. I can't believe I remember all these things. But anyway, it was a disaster. So Paramount, the suits at Paramount did not want to make another mafia movie.
The suits are a term for the business people.
Right. They did not want to make another mafia movie. So The Godfather was 80 pages. Mm-hmm. Paramount optioned that. And then...
And whose decision was it to option?
I think Peter Bart.
Mm-hmm. Peter Bart was Robert Evans' right-hand man.
Yes.
He later became the editor of Variety.
Correct.
A very accomplished and brilliant man in his own right.
Correct.
And he was a journalist for the New York Times. Mr. Evans felt somehow that he was responsible for getting him his job, so he hired him. And
I think he was, though.
Maybe.
I think Bart...
And Mr. Bart liked to work, and Mr. Evans less so, and so...
But Evans was brilliant.
Brilliant.
Like
to deny Robert Evans' brilliance is to deny reality.
So Love Story, one of the things that made Love Story was the music.
Yes.
So we had two other composers. James Webb was one of them. I don't remember the second. And he didn't like the music, and he got on a plane and went to meet with Francis Lay, and that became the music, which of course made you cry.
Thank you so much for watching. It's really important to us. And if you enjoyed the conversation, just half as much as I did, I hope you will like us on Facebook and on YouTube and share it with your friends. I think it's a very meaningful conversation. And we'll be back with the next episode